Many people are very familiar with improvising in a minor key and tend to resort to things like the minor pentatonic scale or Aeolian, which is totally fine and cool, but not many people can improvise confidently in a major key. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can go about improvising in major. So I don't doubt if you're watching this video, then you're probably quite comfortable improvising in minor, particularly minor pentatonic. Now if this is the case, then you're already very good at improvising in major without even realizing. And the reason for that is because minor and major are essentially the same, they just start from a different interval. And what I'm specifically referring to here is relative minor and relative major. And for those of you who don't know what that means, essentially every minor key has a relative major and every major has a relative minor. Visually, the distance between those two is the first two notes of your minor pentatonic scale. So A minor pentatonic here, starting on the 5th. Those first two notes represent the distance between relative minor and relative major. So in the key of A minor, its relative major would be the second note of that pentatonic scale, which is a C. So C major is the relative major of A. And vice versa, if you have a track in the key of C, its relative minor is A minor. Once you're familiar with that distance, you can apply it anywhere on the neck, of course. But how is this knowledge relevant to the video? So where I'm going with this is everything that you play is in context with the key that you're in. So if I am playing a song or jamming over a backing track in the key of C, I can use that A minor pentatonic scale to play over this. So you could play the same minor pentatonic scale, but in the key of C, which therefore makes it a major pentatonic scale. So sounds great. So that's kind of a shortcut way of doing it, but I wouldn't fully recommend this. Although this is true, I would actually recommend learning the major pentatonic shape, which kind of highlights that major chord. So that sounds like this. So that starts on the 8th of the E string. We're going to go 8, 10. Fingering is very important here. Notice I start on that second finger and little finger, and then we have 7 to 10 on the A string, 7 to 10 on the D string, 7 to 9 on the G, and then we're going to go up a fret to 8, 10, and then 8, 10 on the B and E strings. So that spells a C major pentatonic. So essentially, if you have a track in the key of C, you can just improvise over that scale just like you do with the minor pentatonic, and it'll sound great. And if you do that in combination with some of the existing knowledge that you know with your minor pentatonic, that kind of gives you two shapes to choose from. From here, it's really in your hands to choose the right notes, because it can be easy to just resort to your typical minor pentatonic patterns and riffs. And if you resort to those patterns and riffs, it's going to sound a little bit off, because by doing this, you're kind of making your major chord progression sound minor. So what I recommend you do is get familiar with that major pentatonic shape and create new note combinations and riffs that sound major, rather than taking your minor riffs and just playing it over a major chord. Although some riffs will work, but often not. So it's good to have a bank of major riffs and licks and a bank of minor riffs that you can kind of separate. And ultimately, you hopefully will be able to play that pentatonic scale across the entire neck. And if you'd like to be able to do that and unlock the pentatonics across the whole neck, then I thoroughly recommend you check out my practical guitar theory course, which is linked in the description below, where you can learn more about this. And with that knowledge on your belt, you should feel a lot more confident improvising in both major and minor. So let me give you a demonstration of that now. There we go. So what I did there wasn't particularly difficult. I was just playing around with the notes that I'm familiar with across the neck. And some of those phrases I could play over a major or a minor chord progression. The only catch is that you need to make it relevant to the key that you're in. So like I said earlier, some riffs have a kind of minor tonality, and if you play that over a major chord, even though technically it's the correct notes, it's not really going to complement the key that you're in. Let me give you an example of that. So if I play a C major chord, and then play this riff, doesn't quite complement that C chord because this lick has a minor tonality which complements an A minor. So if you find that you're one of those people who struggle to improvise over a major progression, then I suggest that you scrap the licks that you're trying to do and create some new ones which complement the chord. And to create new licks and riffs, I recommend that you choose a very minimal amount of notes. So I often encourage people who are looking to create to choose a minimal amount of notes and maximize the potential of those notes before branching out to the other notes across the neck. Because sometimes you can get really excited and use all the notes across the neck and create this awesome noodly line, but it doesn't really sound melodic. Versus if you play a very select small few notes, I think that sounds a lot cooler just playing around with a few notes there versus noodling around different chord shapes and scales. There we go. I hope you took something away from this video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.